We have always dreamed of living extraordinarily long lives, the longer the better, preferably 100 or maybe even 200 years old. But what is it really that causes us to age? Thomas Nyström is investigating what happens in our cells. And through studying specific diseases that cause the cells' aging to be particularly rapid, he wants to find a way to slow down this harmful development so that more people can be healthier longer.
We see it as something that you could look at as a house of cards. What is the first card that make the rest of the house of cards fall down sequentially?
Our cells are constructed like finely tuned machinery, in which different parts communicate with each other to ensure that everything works as efficiently as possible. But as we age or suffer from certain diseases, this communication function begins to deteriorate more and eventually stops altogether.
So that's a bit of a holy grail, something we try to find out in aging. What is that first card that makes the other thing drop sequentially?
That Thomas would become a scientist was not the plan from the beginning.
When young, I really thought that becoming a piano player full-time would be something I really want to do. But my mom realized that you won't earn so much money immediately, as a piano player, so maybe you should have something, a backup.
So Thomas followed his mother's advice and started studying to become a teacher. But then he became so fascinated with chemistry and biology that it led him to a doctoral position at the University of Gothenburg. And this is where he came to the question of what actually happens in our cells as we age or suffer from certain diseases.
Så det här är ett vanligt våtlabb. Här blandar vi saker och separerar proteiner och DNA. Och här går vi in i mikroskoprummet.
One disease linked to the properties of aging that Thomas studies is Huntington's, a hereditary disease that leads to the breakdown of nerve cells in the brain, ultimately leading to death.
Och det här är en gammal cell.
En gammal cell, ja.
There is no cure today, but Thomas is hoping to help change that.
Huntington disease is one of these diseases where we know there's a protein that has mutations and that makes it behave badly. It aggregates.
Thomas and his team are investigating the function of proteins inside the cells.
So one of the reasons we are focusing on proteins is, of course, that they're doing the work in a cell. They're the working class of a cell, really. And we know that when everything happens where they cannot perform their work, things will go bad for the whole cell.
Proteins are essential for understanding what's going wrong when people age or suffer from neurological diseases like Huntington's. Therefore, one process that researchers want to understand is something called protein quality control. The cells have a system to check that no faulty proteins get through. But if something goes wrong with this system due to a genetic mutation, for example, it often leads to problems. The proteins can start to clump together in different ways, which makes them harmful to the cell. And when the clumps disrupt the cell's work in one place, it can lead to more and more functions in the cell shutting down. But in his research, Thomas has in some cases succeeded in reversing this harmful trend.
So when it comes to Huntington disease, we are pretty far from any clinical applications, but we have come far in identifying processes that are involved in detoxifying the protein and make it less harmful. One of these processes is the production of virus-like particles. So getting rid of those virus-like particles and the production of those particles make the Huntington protein less toxic.
The hope is to be able to slow down or even cure Huntington's and other age-related diseases in the future with the help of Thomas's research. But whether we can live to be 200 years old will likely remain a mystery for a little while longer.
There's a lot of speculation on how old humans can become. The only thing I can say is that we can be 124 because someone actually became that old.